Our guest speaker, Hadley Heath Manning, is Executive Vice President of the Steamboat Institute. As part of the leadership team, she oversees the organization's strategic vision, programs, and content. Hadley has also been a Tony Blankley Fellow with the Steamboat Institute since 2016. Previously, Hadley worked at Independent Women's Forum and Independent Women's Voice for 15 years. As Vice President for Policy, she managed IWF's and IWV's policy department and fellowship programs, overseeing the policy positions and outputs of the organizations. Hadley appears frequently in radio and TV outlets throughout the country. Her work has been featured in publications including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Politico, Roll Call, Real Clear Policy, National Review, and more. In 2016, Hadley was named to Forbes' 30 Under 30 list in law and policy. In 2015, the Republican National Committee honored Hadley as a rising star. And in 2014, she was named to the Red Alert Politics 30 Under 30 list. Hadley has also completed the National Review Institute's Washington Fellowship class of 2012-2013. Hadley graduated with distinction from the University of North Carolina in 2010 as a Moorhead-Kane Scholar with a double major in economics and journalism. Hadley grew up here in Shelby, North Carolina, and graduated from Shelby High School in 2006. She now lives in Denver, Colorado with her husband and children. Please join me in welcoming our graduation speaker, Hadley Heath Manning.
Good evening. What a great honor it is to be invited as tonight's guest speaker. So first of all, I want to thank the leadership of Pinnacle Classical Academy, the board, the administration, the staff, and to you graduates. Thank you for having me. This is a special moment for you. I'm glad to be a part of it. I asked my 8-year-old daughter what I should say to you, and she said to tell you graduates, and I quote, "You've done a wonderful, outstanding, excellent job. And now it's time for the next chapter of life." She's right. It is time for the next chapter of life. Like every generation before you, in this next chapter, you will face the challenge of making difficult decisions about big things: what vocation to pursue, whom to marry, where to live, and what worldview will guide you through life. However, while all young adults in all societies and all generations have faced some of these same transitions and trials, each generation also faces distinct challenges and opportunities. I've been thinking a lot about the world that you're entering into now. I spend a lot of my time thinking about the world, or at least our part of it here in the United States, because my professional work is focused on public policy, on cultural commentary, and on debates over big ideas. But I also think a lot about what kind of future awaits all of us, because I am the mother of 4 young children. And it floors me, honestly, to think that my kids, the youngest of whom just learned to walk not long ago, will one day walk across a stage or an area like this and earn his high school diploma. So I want to start by congratulating you and your parents and loved ones who are here today. Your success in completing this degree is in part a testament to your hard work, but also to the sacrificial love and support of your families and loved ones who got you here. Next, and this is what I will focus on for most of my speech, I want to warn you about what I see as 3 temptations, vices, and false idols that pose particular threats to your generation, and in fact to all of us at this point in history. These 3 things are convenience, conformity, and contempt. All 3 of these things have been around since time immemorial, but today's technology and today's rate of technological advancement are changing our world so quickly that we may unknowingly fall prey to some of these new temptations before we even have a chance to think through how to navigate them. You graduates are standing at the threshold of adult life, and you cannot afford to let this happen. So let's discuss each of these at one time. First, convenience. Some cultural critics say that today we're living in a convenience culture. It's true, I could spend hours on my couch with my smartphone, entertaining or distracting myself with endless amounts of information or content. I could get Uber Eats to deliver food right to my door. I could interact, albeit virtually, with people from around the world on social media. And I could do all of this without even going outside, without even putting on pants. Now, convenience is not a bad thing. In fact, I like the convenience of being able to look up a recipe for dinner or decide what I'm going to wear tomorrow based on what the weather app says. But I fear that in some ways we've become addicted to convenience as a people, and we're more and more likely to choose convenience over other important considerations. Sometimes doing something the hard way is actually the best way. I remember often going to my grandparents' house on Kingsbury Street here in Shelby, and whenever I asked a question about something, as kids will often do, my grandparents would pull an encyclopedia, a book, off of their bookshelf, and we would look it up together. Today, you all have encyclopedias in your pockets. And what's more, all of you know how to use artificial intelligence to scour the entire internet to the answers for your questions and provide a summary to you. We have gained so much with this new technology. But I also wonder what we're losing. There's evidence that smartphones are making us dumber. Social scientists have discovered that even the presence of a smartphone nearby decreases our cognitive capacity to a degree. And smartphone use is associated with decreased attention, focus, memory function, and academic performance. While smartphone addiction hasn't yet been established as a medical diagnosis, doctors do describe problematic smartphone use as obsessive or compulsive. And studies show that smartphones take away from, among many other productive uses of our time, our sleep. But they sure are convenient. They conveniently provide access to sports betting or pornography or videos of other people's worst and most humiliating moments. And if you're trapped somewhere boring, like listening to this graduation speech, they provide a convenient escape from reality. Now, before anyone accuses me of being a Luddite or being anti-technology, I want to clarify that I'm not. I have a smartphone, I use it. I wish that I used it less. But I'm thankful for its incredible usefulness. It's my GPS, it's my camera, it's my file cabinet, it's my scrapbook. I use it to shop, to bank, to play music. All of that, and it even makes phone calls too. Every new technology comes with amazing power, and it can be used as a tool to improve our lives, to make us more productive, to make us richer, more comfortable, healthier, or smarter. You may have heard about the baby who, within the last year, has become the first patient to receive a type of gene therapy that literally edited his liver cells, curing him of a devastating diagnosis that without treatment could have resulted in severe disability or death. So I am not against technology. But I want to encourage all of us to adopt an anti-convenience mentality about certain things. Some of life's most meaningful pursuits are very inconvenient. Consider the most inconvenient thing. What is it? Other people. Other people will inconvenience us sometimes, but people are the world's most precious resource. Relationships among people can be deeply fulfilling, but they require a lot of us. They require our time, our presence, our attention. They require honesty, tolerance, forgiveness. That is, if they're going to be long-lasting relationships. I believe our worship of convenience is in some ways behind our loneliness epidemic and even our falling birth rates. Children will, after all, inconvenience you, especially if you have a vision for your life that involves a high level of professional success, independence, or autonomy. The convenient thing to do today would be to simply avoid the messiness of relationships of all kinds. While no one should tolerate abuse, and while yes, some personal boundaries are important, today we're encouraged to simply do away with friends or family members who add to our mental load or threaten our personal peace. But this easier and more convenient approach to relationships is destroying the fabric of our society. And technology is here to help. For example, Meta, Facebook's parent company, is now developing AI friends to help people combat loneliness. Dear graduates, there are many good uses for AI, but please keep in mind what the A in AI stands for: artificial. Seek out instead what is real. Relationships in real life are more dangerous and more difficult, and they are certainly less convenient. When I was your age, I went to college and I fell in love. That love ultimately took me far from Shelby, far from North Carolina, far from my family of origin, and far from my job. At the time, I thought this was pretty inconvenient. And it was, and it has been. Love is a risky business, but it's a risk worth taking. Now, my husband and I have our 4 beautiful children together, and today is our 11th wedding anniversary. My marriage has probably been the biggest inconvenience and the greatest gift of my life. And so now I'm going to say something that graduation speakers probably shouldn't say. I know many of you sitting behind me probably also desire marriage and children. These things used to be the default, the cultural expectation, the norm. But now, in a world focused on self-actualization and the pursuit of one's individual happiness, family life is treated something like an inconvenience. So you may have to be more intentional about seeking this most natural and basic of all human relationships. We have so many structures in place to launch young adults into educational and professional success, and so few to aid you in the pursuit of family life. The irony, of course, is that choosing a life focused on family, you will ultimately add to your own personal happiness in ways that you couldn't otherwise. So there's my 2 cents on that. Regardless of what kind of family you have one day, the following is true. Other people are worth making time for and prioritizing in your life. They may change the whole direction of your life for the better. So if you face the choice between your own convenience and someone else's good, choose the good. At the end of your life, you will want to look back and say, I made intentional choices. I made good choices. Not, I made the convenient choices. Not only do I urge you to have an anti-convenience mentality, but also an anti-conformity mentality. In March 2023, British writer Alex Murrell compiled a long article called The Age of Average. He made the case that home interiors, architecture, cars, makeup, media, movies, and even brand logos and advertising were all converging on an average, looking more and more the same. One reason for this may be the way that we have become more connected and how we share every aspect of life online, globally. The world he describes lacks originality, diversity, and creativity. It is, in a word, blah. But graduates, I don't care what your car or makeup looks like. If you want to conform to social conventions in these areas, that's of little consequence. But on bigger matters, like your worldview, your religion, your politics, these things are too important to let your friends or peers decide for you. On these things, you must think for yourself. My work adjacent to the political world has revealed one thing to me that you might not expect. I believe the number 1 predictor of one's politics isn't so much age, race, sex, marital status, or even educational level, but I believe it's his or her social environment, and increasingly, his or her online social environment. Our social environments shape us in pernicious ways. That's why it's important to be mindful of their influence on us. And while it's good to listen to everyone's voice and seek to understand everyone's point of view, we must remember that truth, capital T truth, not convention, should shape our worldview, our thoughts, and our actions. So while it might sound trite, I want to encourage all of you to be prepared to stand for what you believe in, even when, and especially when, it is not popular. Please try to care less about what other people think. You will be much happier if you can put others' opinions of you in the proper perspective. But the reality is that all of us are social creatures, and we are shaped by our families, friends, institutions, communities, workplaces, and our social classes. Those of you who are headed to college campuses will definitely be influenced by that environment. Be wary of this. Test everything you hear against what you know to be true. This is an area where your classical education has given you a great advantage. If you are constantly, proactively seeking the truth, lies will have a difficult time with you. But if you're mindlessly following the crowd, sadly, truth is not the default setting. To be a truth seeker is to be actively anti-conformity. As Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Okay, now for my last point. Convenience and conformity may be okay in small doses. I simply encourage you to be vigilant against their influence in your life. But contempt is something I urge you to eschew entirely. To have a short Latin lesson for my classical education graduates, contempt comes from con, meaning with, and temnere, which means to slight, scorn, or despise. It means treating other people with scorn, as worthless or irredeemably bad. Sadly, in the political world, we see a lot of this. Arthur Brooks, noted scholar and happiness expert, has documented how contempt has increasingly infiltrated our political discourse. In his work on this topic, he points to the sad reality that 1 in 6 Americans stopped talking to a friend or family member following the 2016 presidential election. He cites research showing that political polarization levels in the United States are higher now than at any time since the Civil War. He assigns much of the cause of this increased contempt in our society to motive attribution asymmetry, and I think he's right. Motive attribution asymmetry is when you incorrectly assume that you are motivated by benevolence and goodwill, while your political opposition must be motivated by hatred or ill will. In other words, you think, my political team is the good guys, the other political team is the bad guys. No one, no political party or movement or ideology is safe from the temptation to hold others in contempt. This isn't surprising because so many of us, myself included, have strong convictions and strong opinions about political and moral questions, and we're passionate about those positions. But we can never let our zeal take away from the basic respect we owe to all people, including the opposition. What I'm saying is this: the political opposition is not our enemy. We can separate the person from the bad idea. We may want to destroy bad ideas, but we don't want to destroy people. After the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, the Network Contagion Research Institute released a report on so-called assassination culture, revealing an acceleration of the number of Americans who approve of politically motivated violence. The NCRI has documented that in surveys, 44% of people said that the murder of Brian Thompson was at least somewhat justified. Young people and people with higher levels of social media use were more likely to say that this murder was justified. This is disturbing and shameful. Now, many of you may be sitting here thinking, I'm no murderer. I would never murder someone over a political disagreement. At least I hope every person here is sitting and thinking that. But if you approve of violence, of murder even, you're holding contempt in your heart against the victims of this violence. You're being complicit. We must all work to root out this kind of contempt from our society, starting with our own hearts. In all things, we should strive to be charitable to others. Charity isn't just money that we give to the poor. It's love. It's the kind of love that assumes the best in other people and their intentions. And although ugly motivations like racism, sexism, greed, selfishness, self-righteousness, and vanity are all very real, please resist the urge to categorically assign certain opinions or positions to these motives. Instead, seek to inform yourself. In the words of St. Francis of Assisi, let us seek to understand, not just to be understood. This mutual understanding among people is critical to a pluralistic society. We cannot continue to thrive as a nation if we do not have respect for our compatriots and view them as equally valuable human beings, worthy of dialogue and even friendship. It takes nothing away from the strength of our convictions to look for common ground and strive for unity and harmony among people. Plus, you will live a happier life if you choose to live at peace with people. If you're respectful of others, people will come to respect you. If you tolerate or even celebrate having friends and family members of different views, you will enjoy rich relationships that you otherwise would have missed out on. So don't let contempt harden your heart. In closing, graduates, I remind you to resist convenience, conformity, and contempt. I'll also offer you some virtues to pursue in the place of these false idols. Instead of convenience, conscientiousness. Instead of conformity, confidence in the truth. Instead of contempt, compassion. If you pursue these things in the next chapter of life, you will really be doing, as my daughter says, a wonderful, outstanding, excellent job. Thank you.